The Tennessee Titans make no sense. So help me make sense of this 6-3 Titans team that comes to Lambeau on a frigid Thursday night. Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans is here for another crossover Thursday. It starts right now.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. The number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. It is crossover Thursday. We go long with Ty, so I don't want to waste any time. Let's get into it right now. Welcome inside another Locked On NFL crossover edition. It is Locked On Packers and Locked On Titans. I'm Peter Bukowski with Locked On Packers. Tyler Rowland with Locked On Titans for a Thursday night tilt between the Packers and the Titans, two teams that want to run the ball, that want to rough you up in the trenches, and we might have snow. We might have freezing rain. We might have all kinds of fun stuff at Lambeau Field. This is going to be a good one. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. It is daily fantasy made so easy because all you have to do, pick 2 to 5 players and decide if they're going to produce more or less than their projection. You can do this in 60 seconds. And because you listen to Locked On Packers and Locked On Titans, you can get up to $100 just for using the promo code Locked On. You put $100 in, deposit match, bang, another $100 right there for you. That's prizepicks.com with the promo code Locked On. Tyler Rowland, Locked On Titans. This is a 6-3 football team that I don't think you or I think is a 6-3 football team, but maybe you do more than I do. What is the biggest story facing this team? Coming off a win against the hapless Denver Broncos, what is the biggest story facing this team right now?
Well, I think for the Titans, it's just a repeat over and over of where we're at in the season. The Titans, like you said, are 6-3. They don't really look like a 6-3 football team when you look at the numbers, even when you look at the film, especially of the offense. It's perplexing because you look at a team like Denver, who's like the best defense in the league and the worst offense. Well, the Titans might be the second best defense in the league and then the second worst offense, but the Titans are 6-3 and the Broncos are 3-7 or whatever. All I could say to you there is coaching. But the reality is, I think the big story for Titans fans right now is frustration with the offensive side of the ball, because while the Titans offense is poor, I mean, 32nd, 31st, whatever you want to call it, every Titans fan, even, the most pessimistic of them all, which some people might say I am the most pessimistic you could be as a real Titans fan, there is hope there. Like when you have a healthy group of wide receivers, no, it's not a world-beating group, but Treylon Burks is a talented rookie who's done some good things. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who had 2 touchdowns, went over 100 yards on 5 catches against the Broncos, has the ability to make some plays. Robert Woods, of course, a savvy vet who can't maybe be what he once was, but can sit down in zones and move the chain. Same thing with Austin Hooper. Him and Robert Woods are very similar, just at different positions. Chig Okonkwo, the Titans' young rookie tight end, who's incredibly explosive. He was the fastest tight end in the NFL draft this year. There are only 2 tight ends in the NFL with multiple catches of 40 yards or more. One of them is TJ Hawkinson, who's a Pro Bowler, and the other is Chig Okonkwo.
Wow.
He's gotten 1 catch in the last 2 games, one against the Chiefs and then one against the Broncos. He went for 40 yards in both of those. That was the only catch he had. He had 5 targets total in those games. So although the offensive line isn't great, there are some backups there. Although the wide receiver group hasn't been healthy or great so far this year, same thing with the tight ends, there are ingredients available to make a better meal than what the Titans are getting week to week. And I say all of this to say the Titans offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, is absolutely disgusting. Quite frankly, it's bizarre. And in a press conference this week, Mike Vrabel, with a straight face, told the Nashville media that the only thing that he cares about from his offensive coordinator is making sure that the quarterback can hear the play call. As long as the OC gets the play call to the quarterback, he's done his job. Now, Mike Vrabel is a historic, legendary liar when it comes to dealing with the media. Like, he is clearly, he may not be in the Belichick coaching tree, but he clearly learned from him as a player. He half-truths, outright lies. I mean, that's what Vrabel does when he talks to the media. It's the reality there. So I'm sure he's being facetious, but I do think it does give you a window into the low expectations he has. And I think Titans fans, while being happy they're 6-3, also realize that if the offensive game planning and the offensive coordination doesn't get better, then this team is just going to waste another year of great defense in Derrick Henry's prime. And no matter how many games they win in the regular season or who they beat, they're going to get smoked in the playoffs or lose in the first round in the playoffs unless the offensive coordinator starts to do just logical things to make the offense better, like target your best playmakers and things like that. So I think the biggest storyline for the Titans is, are they going to do that? I don't know. We'll see.
I have a lot of stats that I want to throw at you later and try and have you make sense of them for me, because this offense, like, none of it makes sense to me. And so you're going to have to try and explain it to me like I'm 5, Ty, but in Green Bay, there's a little bit of the same, just because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback and this offense has been bad most of the season. But then that brings us to what happened on Sunday. The Packers go out and get a win against one of the best teams in football that was relatively healthy. They put 31 points on a great Cowboys defense, albeit without Anthony Barr. So that means Micah Parsons has to spend more time as an off-ball linebacker, less time rushing the passer. I actually think, for as good as Dan Quinn has been this year as a coordinator, that was a pretty big misstep. I'd much rather them just play a backup linebacker and let Micah Parsons go hunt quarterbacks. Very happy that he did what he did, because it made life much easier on the Packers and Aaron Rodgers to get this passing game going. But then that brings us to this question. Who are they? Are they the team that early in the season was winning games despite not playing their best? You go in and you beat Tampa, you beat the Bears, and you beat the Cowboys, or are you the team that is blowing double-digit leads to the Giants, the Washington Commanders, and the Lions game? Like, what team are you moving forward? Because you get to decide now, right? I mean, the Packers get to decide. Are you the team that just beat the Cowboys, or are you this other team? They're dealing with injuries just like Tennessee is dealing with injuries. They're dealing with a short week just like Tennessee is dealing with a short week. They have to decide if they still think this season is worth fighting for. And I was really heartened to see them in the fourth quarter. Now, they had the ball, so it's not quite the same. But going into the fourth quarter, they're down 14. Cowboys franchise history, 195-0 with a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. 195, I'll say it again, 195-0.
Wow.
And now they're 195-1. And I told we have a weekly guest on. I told Lily Zhao, our pal, yesterday. I said, I actually felt, even when they were down 28-14, that they could come back because Christian Watson and what he could be. And I think that is right now a huge story in this short week. Can he build on that? Because you're talking about a guy, the first Packers rookie receiver with 3 touchdowns in a game since James Lofton, 1978. Yeah. And only the second rookie receiver to have 3 touchdowns against the Dallas Cowboys. The other, a guy named Randy Moss. So this is pretty good company that Christian Watson
actually kind of compares to a little bit. I have a video
just
of
freak speed,
Christian Watson,
vertical threats, lanky body type. There is now Randy Moss had
Moss a little bit.
Randy Moss had ridiculous hands, adversity catches.
It's different.
There is difference, but
there are little things there, you know.
There are some strings to pull for sure. So
right.
There's a lot that's interesting about this game to me. And I think that well, let me ask you before we get to some other things here. What is the most interesting thing to you, story-wise, about this game? Not just the Titans or the Packers, but just the one thing where you're like, I'm really excited to see this thing.
Well, I think it's about learning who these teams are.
Yeah.
Because I think that they're 2 teams on opposite sides of the spectrum. The Titans have a 6-3 record, but it doesn't really seem like they're as good of a team as their record is. The Packers look like a pretty good team who just had some clunky things happen to them early, and they look like a team who's better than their record is. This game is either a step in the direction of, wow, the Titans are better than we thought they were, or it's going to be a step in the direction of, here come the Packers. So that, to me, is the biggest storyline. Is this is a Scooby-Doo game. Let's call it that. It's a Scooby-Doo game, because at the end, we're going to rip the mask off and see who these teams really are. Clip that one out.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And there may be some spooky things that happen for sure. Short week, spooky things tend to happen.
Indeed.
Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Blue Nile. As the original online jeweler, Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. I'll admit, I went the traditional retailer route when I got my wife our engagement ring, and it was a lot. I have to say, it was a lot of money, and you're supposed to spend a lot of money on a piece of fine jewelry. That's the point. You save up and you get the perfect piece, but why not get something even better? Because now you have a bigger budget. You can expand that budget because you're potentially getting more for your money at Blue Nile. And if you don't know anything about buying fine jewelry, buying diamonds, you don't know the 3 C's, all that good stuff, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Phone, online chat. I love an online chat function, Ty. I don't know about you, but I love to just be able to type, let them respond.
I'm an idiot when it comes to jewelry. I need that. It's a wonderful
I hate
feature.
to wait on the phone to talk to somebody. So let me just get in the chat. Bang. Perfect. Blue Nile has a 100% satisfaction guarantee. All their orders are insured and shipped free in discreet packaging, and they offer overnight shipping if you're in a rush. Make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. Pretty easy to do when we're talking fine jewelry. BlueNile.com, promo code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's a great opportunity to save some money on something that you know you're going to drop some cash on. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at Tommy John. I am obsessed with my Tommy John. I've got the pajamas. I got a pair of underwear, and my wife was so sick of hearing me talk about it that she went and bought herself some. She actually wore them last night to bed and was like, oh my God, these things aren't, ended up buying them in multiple colors because she was so blown away with the quality, the fit. And right now, Tommy John, Black Friday sale. Why wouldn't you want to save yourself some money on loungewear, pajama, underwear, all kinds of great stuff? See Tommy John's Black Friday sale going on right now and get 30% off site-wide at Tommy John. My wife is going to be a little bummed. She bought her stuff a week or two ago because she's going to want the 30% off. So go get your deal. TommyJohn.com/locked-on. 30% off everything now at TommyJohn.com/locked-on. Ty, if you haven't gotten yourself some Tommy John, you got to get them. I'm telling you, it is good stuff, dude. It really is nice. I'm enjoying it. And one more, let me indulge our listeners here in my show because I have to. Thanks for making Locked On Packers and Locked On Titans your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with the local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today. I host it. Tyler's on it. He comes on. We have a great time. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. All right, deep breath after that one. Let's get into the X's and O's here. I want to set you up this way because I was pouring over the numbers, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, they're last in yards per drive. They're second last in net yards per drive.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom of the league in so many of these offensive statistics. The only team that throws for fewer passing yards per game than the Titans are the Justin Fields-led Chicago Bears. So, but they're sort of a middle of the pack scoring offense.
Mm-hmm.
Let me phrase it this way. How?
Red zone offense. It changes pretty consistently. But I do believe at this time, the Titans are still number one in the NFL in red zone offensive percentage. And when we say red zone offense, just meaning how many times you score a touchdown when you get into the red zone. So basically, the Titans aren't getting many chances in the red zone, but they're converting them right now. 76.2% red zone conversion rate.
Wow.
That's number one in the NFL, despite only having 21 red zone opportunities, which is second to last in the NFL. So basically, the Titans have a great third down defense. They get you off the field. Again, the numbers change quite consistently, but throughout most of the season, the Titans have been the number one third down defense in the NFL. So they get people off the field consistently. They're solid in the red zone, if not tops in the NFL. They're solid in the red zone. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they don't turn over the ball. And if they get you to the red zone, they are going to score a touchdown. So they're taking advantage of their opportunities. And the defense has just been incredible. I mean, a lot of the answers that we're going to come back to here with the Titans are just the defense is incredible. And at the end of the day, you can look at the passing numbers and look at the Titans pass defense, which I think by yardage is like 31st in the league. You can look at all that if you want to, but at the end of the day, that's not a real representation of the Titans defense. The representation that you want is 214 pressures on the year, 19 more pressures than second place, and the Titans have already had their bye. So the Titans get far more pressure on teams' quarterbacks than any team in the NFL. So despite the just paltry, pedestrian offense that truly is as bad as it sounds, for how terrible the offense is, the defense is that great. So for the offense, though, simply, once they get to the red zone, they score and they get opportunities because the defense gets people off the field.
Only two teams punt on more than half of their possessions. The Titans are one of them, and the only other team that does it, they played on Sunday. They are the worst team in the league avoiding 3 and outs. They go 3 and out on over 30% of their offensive possessions. Mm-hmm. Like the offense, I could just go through these numbers all day. I was looking at them going, how is this team have 6 wins? And to your point, it is that this defense has just been really unbelievable this season, especially with all the injuries, to do it when you've had issue, Harold Landry.
Out for the season.
Right.
He had 12 sacks last year.
Right. Not playing. Bud Dupree in and out of the lineup. You have Jeffrey Simmons in and out of the lineup. It just the sort of the list goes on and on. Amani Hooker in and out of the lineup. Christian Fulton. I mean, all these guys have had these injuries, and yet they've been able to sustain it because guys like Danico Autry have been really good. And you're getting like Mario Edwards just like revitalizing his career in Tennessee. Looks like different, like unrecognizable, that guy. Mm-hmm. I watch the Titans game and I'm just like, wait, is that the same guy? The same guy that was with the Raiders and the Giants and the Saints and the Bears and the Jaguars, and now this is like his 18th team for a reason, and now all of a sudden he looks like not just a starter but an above average starter. It is I can't explain it other than what you said at the top.
Oh, hey, well, Kobe can't explain.
And that's coaching.
Yeah. Coaching. Well, that's what it really comes down to is, I say the answer is red zone, all this stuff, the third down defense, the pressure, all that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to Mike Vrabel is just an incredible coach, managing the game, leading men, which I think, we get into the weeds of the film and the numbers and all that. But at the end of the day, it's a game played by people. And that's why we have this analytics versus on-field intuition conversation and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you just can't discount the people aspect of a game like this. And I think Mike Vrabel is tops of the league with a guy like, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, in terms of that kind of coach.
What's also interesting is they are 15th in yards per drive, but 5th in points per drive. So there's a little bit of bend but don't break, right? And part of that is you can give up some yards, but then when you're creating pressure like they do, you get sacks, you get turnovers, you get fumbles because you're putting this pressure on opposing offenses. And I think that what's also interesting is they don't blitz.
No, not at all.
They're one of the I think they're one of yeah, they're one of the number that I saw, they blitz less than 20%, which is one of the lowest numbers.
6.
Only a handful of teams blitz that infrequently. They've been at the bottom of the league all year because they don't have to, because they can just get home with their guys.
Front 4. Even their backup front 4.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is they are deep. It's not just Mario Edwards and Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry. It's it's, DeMarcus
Pierre
Walker
Tart,
and
DeMarcus Walker, Sam
go ahead,
Okwe-Anonu.
give them their
It's
flowers.
crazy. Yeah, Rashad Weaver. It's unbelievable, really.
And so I need to know from you. I mean, I know it's early in the week, and you mentioned Mike Vrabel, a notorious liar.
Yes.
Of these guys that have been missing time, Amani Hooker, Bud Dupree, Jeffrey Simmons, who right now, as we record this late on Tuesday night, who do you expect to be available that has been out for the Titans, with the understanding that this is just sort of like informed speculation, and we'll see when we see.
Yeah, no worries there. I do want to say quickly, just for fun, just to highlight how the Titans just love to lie. Like last week on Wednesday, Derrick Henry was listed as a DNP with a foot, and everyone freaked out. And the very next day, they changed it to NIR, not injury related. You know what I mean? Like, so whoever made the injury report literally was told, like, just make something up. We're resting Derrick Henry today. And they made up the wrong thing. And everybody freaked out. Like if they would have put like wrist or shoulder, nobody would have batted an eye, but it's just a great example. But the Titans missed 5 starters on defense last week. Number 1 cornerback, Christian Fulton, maybe the best defensive player in the entire NFL this year. Jeffrey Simmons. They were missing Amani Hooker, one of the better safeties in the NFL. Yep. They were also missing Bud Dupree, who, I mean, shocker that they were missing Bud Dupree. Talk about setting money on fire. Oh, but they're so good when he's on the field. Well, they would be good with any NFL level starter because the guy replacing him is a bum. So, well, not bum. I hate when, it's just fun to say bum, but, replacement level players. But anyway, I digress. So the Titans were without 5 starters. The only person I don't expect to play in the game is Bud Dupree.
Wow.
I would expect Jeffrey Simmons back, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, they were playing, they were practicing. So Christian Fulton almost played in the game last week. It was a game time decision. So out of all of those starters for the Titans, the only one that I think won't play in the game is Bud Dupree. And that's great news for Titans fans.
What about this Packers offense would scare you if you're excuse me, if you're the Titans?
I would say Christian Watson. I would say just because so far this year, bigger wide receivers like that have gotten great matchups with the Titans. So on one side, you're going to have Christian Fulton. In the slot, you're probably going to have Roger McCreary. If not, you're going to have Elijah Molden. At the other cornerback spot, you're either going to have Roger McCreary if he's not in the slot, or you're going to have Terrence Mitchell as kind of a journeyman in the NFL. And while they've had their moments, I think a guy like Christian Watson, with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, which where it's going to be and how that can work out. Mm-hmm. I think if you can get Watson off of Fulton and get him on Mitchell or McCreary, you're going to have yourself a day, because Mac Hollins went for 10 catches, 158 yards, and a touchdown on Terrence Mitchell. Guys like Alec Pierce dominated on Terrence Mitchell. Daimi Brown dominated that matchup when it was Caleb Farley, just that third cornerback spot on the outside of the formation. If you can get Watson matched up with Mitchell or McCreary enough, could be a very good day for Baby Moss.
So what's interesting is the Titans are, by DVOA, so defense adjusted value over average. This is basically how you are adjusting for opponent. The worst team in the league defending the deep ball. And I think the reason that hasn't come back to bite them, based on at least what I've watched, is because they just don't give quarterbacks time to set up and throw deep. Yeah. And so if the Packers can run the ball effectively, which is going to be really hard because this is the number 1 team in adjusted line yards, they win at the line of scrimmage consistently.
Right.
But if the Packers can get to their play action game, Packers scored on the Christian Watson. 2 of those touchdowns are play action plays. So if you can get to those plays, I think you have an opportunity with the speed of someone like Watson. It looks like Randall Cobb could be back for this game, although he's not a deep threat, but could, create some issues in the middle of the field where your safeties are going, okay, do I cut this crosser with the understanding that there could be something in behind and I need my corner to replace and all that stuff. That's where I think Green Bay, to your point, the Christian Watson point, if you're the Packers and you're looking at, okay, the offensive personnel against this defensive personnel, you have to create some variance. You have to create some shots. I think that's where they have to find ways to manufacture some offense the same way they did against the Cowboys. And if they can run the ball at least a little bit effectively, that makes it so much easier to play action into all of that good stuff that they want to do down the field and that Aaron Rodgers is just so good at.
Well, that's what they need to do. They need to at least a couple of times leave in some blockers to ensure that they have enough time to take those deep shots. Because I think if you put the Titans in a position to guard those deep shots, a couple of times a game, you're going to get a PI, you're going to get a deep completion, you're going to get an explosive play, but you got to give yourself enough time. So I think that'll be something that the Packers have to find a way to build into the offensive game plan. It's just a couple of shot plays with maybe max protection to make sure you can get the ball off and give your guy a chance.
And A.J. Dillon had a big blitz pickup on a play last week where that gave Aaron Rodgers a little extra time. Mercedes Lewis is someone they love to leave in as basically a 6 offensive lineman. He's basically a 6 offensive lineman for them anyway. Yeah. And so that is something that I think we will definitely see. And I think the degree to which it works is ultimately going to decide this game, frankly. Bet Online. Let's talk about it. Your number one source for all of your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. I remember the last time I talked to our buddy Tyler when we did Packers Titans. He hit big on taking the Packers in a game that the Packers absolutely boat raced the Titans back in 2020.
I saw it coming. I know the Titans. Okay. I know. And I am part owner in the Packers. So I feel like I know the Packers pretty well too.
See, there you go. That's why this is a great show for you to listen to if you want to try and make some money on the gambling side of this. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get you the information, and Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to get your bets in and then get your money out if you want to do that. Bet Online, where the game starts. And Ty, if you indulge me one more time, thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen. For your next listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, my show. Please, thank you. The biggest stories in sports, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day, which has been, in the relatively recent past, has been Tyler's take, by the way. Locked On Sports Today, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. One of my favorite ones of those, Tyler, was Luke with the Vikings saying, I believe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And then, they haven't lost for 3 straight weeks since he's done that. And I'm just this guy, Vikings fans having hope. It is the weirdest thing. I don't understand it. But
right. It was like the Jaguars fans acting like they were going to be awesome at the beginning of the year. Remember that?
Unbelievable.
I mean, Locked On even posted a video trying to dunk on me because I laughed at the Jags before the season. Well, who's laughing now, Locked On?
Who's laughing now, Nick Angstad?
Yeah, take that, Nick.
All right, so it's prediction time. And this is I have picked against the Packers. I picked against the Packers with the Bills. I picked the Packers to beat the Lions, but I picked against them a couple times now over the last couple weeks. And I don't think I can do a show on Tuesday like I did, and a show on Monday like I did when I actually called the Titans frauds. And then I walked it back a little bit and pick the Titans. I just can't do it. So I'm going to take the Packers in this one, but in a low scoring kind of game. I think this is a 20, the Titans every game this season has been 21-17. And I feel like this is going to be another 21-17 game, but the Packers get the win. This game opened at Packers giving 2, and I think it's up to 3 already. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got the hook at some point here, especially with some of these guys coming back for Green Bay. I think they're able to run the ball just enough to set up that play action and then load up to stop Derrick Henry. I don't have supreme confidence that Joe Barry is going to do the thing that he needs to do, and that is just make sure Derrick Henry doesn't beat them. But the one thing that gives me a little bit of hope is he said the first tape he watched in Green Bay to get a feel for this team and the defense and all that stuff was Packers Titans, because he felt like that was maybe Matt LaFleur said this was the best defensive performance of that season. It's the most complete game the Packers have played in the Matt LaFleur era. So of course you're going to watch that game. Obviously, if the Packers recreate that, it'll be a long day for Tennessee. It probably will not be quite that impressive, but I think the Packers can do enough and score enough to win.
Yeah, well, I think that's great tape to watch because schematically speaking, something that the Packers did in that game is, number one, we're always going to have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. We're going to clog you up in the middle. your wide zone scheme where your inside trio, the center and the guard, execute the double team. Somebody gets up to the second level on a backer and you open up these holes for Henry. We're not doing it. We're going to make your offensive tackles be the guys who climb up to the second level because your interior trio is going to be dealing with one-on-ones with our down linemen. Even when the Titans went super base, heavy base with multiple tight ends, the Packers said, fine, we're going to put 4 guys with their hands in the dirt on the ground, have 2 guys on the outside, and have 1 backer in the middle, a 6'1", basically like what the Patriots started running against. I forget who the Patriots ran that.
The Rams.
The Rams. Yeah, exactly. The wide zone. So the Packers did that. And even when they only had 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, they'd take that second backer, the second off-ball backer, and they'd walk him up like a yard or 2 in front of the line of scrimmage. Number one, you're able to get quick penetration, and you're preventing the Titans from getting to the second level, which is how the offense executes. So if Joe Barry watched that, I know it was Mike Pettin at the time, right, as the DC. If Joe Barry watched that and he decides to go with that game plan again, it does give me concern. And quite frankly, I've been thinking about it all week, and I think he will return to that because the Broncos did a little bit of that this week, just clogged the interior of the Titans offensive line, and you ruined the best part of the Titans offensive line is their interior trio. The tackles, rookie NPF, or journeyman Dennis Daly, they're not the better players on the
Taylor
offensive
Lewan
line.
for my Packers listeners,
he's out
for the year.
So, and probably maybe out for career. I think there's a good chance he retires and just works on his media career, which is very successful.
Yeah, crushing it on the podcast.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. So I think that the Packers have the game plan already written within the annals of Packer history for what to do. And this Titans passing offense is even less explosive than it was then. So
that team had AJ Brown. That team had was Johnny Smith was on that team too, right?
If it was 2020, then I believe Corey Davis would still be around.
Right,
Johnny Smith. It was right before they left because they left after 2020, not 2019. So to me, with a watered down Titans offense compared to what we've seen before and the plan already written, I do believe in the Titans defense. You said earlier they're frauds, maybe at the end of the day overall, whatever, but pass rush will travel.
Wait, to be clear, the defense is not fraudulent.
Right.
The 6-3 record is fraudulent.
And that's why even though they may have a fraudulent record, they may not be as good of a team as the record says, they still have the ability to win any game, any day if the pass rush truly does dominate.
100%.
I just wanted to get one question from you about the Packers here. The offensive line struggles early
on these show.
Injuries. I know you're too good of a host. It's too natural for you, but hey, whatever. I'll oblige. I love talking. What's up with the Packers offensive line before I make my prediction? Where's the health? Bakhtiari, Jenkins, DNPs, and the estimated. What's the offensive line like right now?
That's rest. That's rest. Now, we can't be sure with Bakhtiari.
Right.
Because last time he missed a game, it was right up till game time. And then the next week, the same thing happened with Elton Jenkins. Now that was a different set of injuries. That was not a reinflammation of the knee. Bakhtiari is still this bulky knee. We don't know. I actually think the rest and not really practicing this week is going to help get David Bakhtiari to game time. Right. And then guys like Josh Myers, he's top 10 in things like Pro Football Focus, pass block, win rate, ESPN's pass block win rate, John Runyon Jr., in pass block grade, one of the top guards in the league this year.
I love Runyon.
In pass
protection. Runyon out of the draft. Yes.
He's
How do you pass on people like him? How does he drop so low?
I picked him for the Packers in round 4 in every mock draft I did. Every single one. I was like, no, he's a Packer. Just write it in ink now. And then Josh Nijman, what an unbelievable story, Ty.
Right.
This guy is, by ESPN's pass block win rate, the #1 offensive tackle in football this year. Crazy. David Bakhtiari is 3rd. When David Bakhtiari has played, he's been David Bakhtiari.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. But and that's to be expected. Josh Nijman he's 6'7". He's a dancing bear. He's an unbelievable athlete with incredible length. He's right now 2nd in run block win rate. Because they get him on the move. They're doing these pin pull runs where he can go and hit guys in space. And he has just been unbelievable. His growth as a player has been truly something to watch. And it's the kind of thing that there have to be teams around the league going, how do the Packers keep doing with these guys?
Because I'm sure the Titans are one of them. They need some offensive linemen. That would be great for the Titans. I guess at the end of the day, if the Titans defensive line dominates the Packers offensive line, then the Titans can win the game because, in my opinion, other than quarterback play, pass rush is the most important element of football. I'd take a good pass rush over a good coverage unit any day of the week, 8 days of the week, all day. I'm a pass rush guy. So if the Titans pass rush can dominate the matchup, then they'll win. But I just think the Packers can, like I talked about, max protect, take those shots down the field, swing passes, make the Titans defensive backs on the perimeter tackle, swing passes to Aaron Jones. Even if the Packers don't run the ball well, I think their passing game can still have some success. If the Titans don't run the ball well, they're cooked because this ain't the Denver Broncos. I know Titans fans are going, well, they didn't run that. Well, this ain't the Broncos. Okay. So to me, at the end of the day, I trust the Packers passing offense more than I trust the Titans passing offense. So I got Titans 24-17 in this game. I haven't seen the Titans score over 17 points since Nam. So I don't believe that they can. And honestly, I'm just trying to be optimistic. I think there's a chance it's, 24-13, something like that. I love the Packers betting wise in this matchup, but I'll go 24-17 Packers.
Listen, I picked against the Packers last week, and Marcus Mosher was on this show. He absolutely nailed it. I think he had 24-21, but or 27-24, but he said Aaron Rodgers late Mason Crosby field goal. Nailed it. He nailed it.
Marcus is very good at his work. He is.
Listen, we follow our teams very closely. The Packers have been they've been inscrutable this season. And so it is very hard to get a handle on them. But I think you're right. I look at this game and I see a pretty big quarterback advantage for one team. And I see a pretty big offensive line advantage. Just like not matchups, but just offensive line for offensive line.
Just talent.
I mean, you look at some of the underlying numbers, you don't have to squint too hard to see that the Titans, in terms of pass protection, are the worst offensive line in the league.
Yes.
You look at Pro Football Focus's grades, you look at pass block win rate, the worst pass block, the worst pass blocking team in football, with a quarterback who struggles if it's not clean against Aaron Rodgers and an offensive line that's playing really well in pass protection. I have a hard time betting against Aaron Rodgers in a situation like that.
Can I just say it's funny that you say the worst pass blocking offensive line in the league, which they're definitely up there, a quarterback who struggles when he doesn't have a clean pocket, and let me add in bottom of the barrel NFL play calling, and maybe the worst group of wide receivers in the NFL. So add all that together and you get what you get with the Titans offense, ladies.
But other than that, the passing game is really it's really nice. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll be back. You and I are both going to be live on our YouTube channels after the game to have some fun with this one. The shows will go out very late in your podcasts feed. Come check us out there. Thanks for making both of us your first listen every day. Stay locked on Packers. Stay locked on Titans. Let's go. All right. Thanks to Tyler. Great to talk to him. One of my favorite guys to talk ball with on the network. We end up talking for like 20 minutes off air before and after every show, just because I have such a fun time talking with him. All right, live Thursday night after the game. You're listening to this. It's Thursday, presumably. Thursday night after the game, we'll go live on our YouTube page. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And if you want to come hang out with us live on Thursday night, you can do that to stay Locked On Packers.